me! Who hurt you?
It doesn't matter now that you're here.
My hands wouldn't stop shaking. 4 attempts before the locker finally clicked open. My fingers felt foreign, clumsy with the kind of exhaustion that lives in your bones and refuses to leave. The convenience store had been understaffed all week, which meant everyone worked double shifts whether they could handle it or not. I needed the money. Desperately. With Minyi controlling my bank account and watching every win I earned, I'd learned to hide what little I could in the spaces between his surveillance. I pulled my jacket from the hook, catching my reflection in the small mirror taped inside the locker door. Hollow-cheeked. Dark circles like bruises beneath eyes that had forgotten how to hope. When did I become this ghost? I closed the locker before I could answer that question. Before this story continues, like, subscribe and turn on the notifications bell, comments where you are watching from. Hair pulled back in a tight bun that had started neat 13 hours ago. The oversized hoodie I wore hung loose on a frame that had lost too much weight too quickly. I stopped buying proper meals 3 weeks ago. Easier-to-eat convenience store kimbap passed its sell-by date. It was cheaper to skip dinner entirely when the alternative was facing Minyi's interrogation about where I'd been, who I'd talked to, and why I was late. Home. The word tasted like ash in my mouth. That one-room office-style in Gangnam wasn't home. It was a cell, and Minyi held every key to the door, to my phone, to whatever was left of who I used to be. I shouldered my worn bag and headed for the exit, bowing slightly to manager Kim at the register. He'd been running this GS25 for 15 years, knew every employee's story, always spoke gently. Tonight he looked at me with the kind of concern that made my throat tight. Hayun SSI, you're too pale. Are you eating properly? Just tired, Manager Nim, long shift. The lie came easily in Korean. I'd been perfecting it for months, the careful performance of being fine. Outside, November wind cut through my thin jacket like knives. I should have grabbed my heavier coat this morning, but Minyi had thrown it across the room during last night's rage, and I'd learned that retrieving things he'd touched in anger only triggered worse violence. Better to freeze than provoke him. The walk to Gangnam Station normally took 12 minutes. Tonight it felt like walking through water. Each step required conscious effort, my legs heavy and uncooperative. When had I last eaten a real meal? 2 days ago, maybe. Half a triangle kimbap from the damaged goods bin. My stomach had stopped growling days ago, replaced by a hollow ache. I'd learned to ignore the way I'd learned to ignore so many things. Rain started as I descended into the station. Light at first, then heavier, soaking through my jacket before I reached the turnstile. Perfect. Just perfect. I stood shivering as water dripped from my hair, watching commuters rush past in that particular sole way, eyes down, earbuds in, everyone existing in their own isolated bubble. Don't make eye contact. Don't acknowledge suffering. Just get where you're going and mind your business. That was the unspoken rule of survival in this city of 10 million souls. Dizziness hit me as I stepped onto the platform. I grabbed a pillar, steadying myself as passengers pushed past toward the arriving train. The fluorescent lights, the rush of bodies, the screech of brakes, it all felt overwhelming. My vision grayed at the edges. Get on the train, Hayun. Just get on line 2. Get back to Gangnam. Survive another night. I pushed forward with the crowd, finding a spot near the center doors. No seats available. Not that I expected any at this hour. I wrapped my hand around the overhead rail, gripping tight as the train lurched into motion. The swaying made everything worse. My empty stomach rolled. Sweat broke out on my forehead despite the cold. I focused on breathing, counting in Korean the way my grandmother had taught me when I was anxious as a child. Ko hana anus, ko du anus, ko sate anus, ko nate anus. 1, 2, 3, 4, except my body wasn't cooperating. The counting scattered like ashes. My grip on the rail weakened. I was going to faint. I recognized the signs even as I experienced them. Tunnel vision, nausea, weakness spreading through my limbs like ice water. Not here. Not now. Not in front of all these people. The train took a curve, or maybe it was normal and I was the one tilting. My hand slipped. My knees buckled. I fell. But I didn't hit the ground. Strong arms caught me, pulling me against a solid chest. My head lolled against expensive fabric that smelled like cigarettes and bergamot and something else, something dangerous and foreign and completely unfamiliar. Ko gwenchanayo enus? It's okay. The voice was deep, controlled, with the kind of authority that made people obey without question. I tried to speak, to apologize, to explain in proper Korean that I was fine and didn't need help, but the words wouldn't come. My body had shut down, exhausted beyond function. Through half-closed eyes, I saw him. Sharp features that belonged to a drama actor. Dark hair slicked back perfectly. Eyes so dark they appeared black, focused on me with an intensity that should have terrified me but somehow didn't. He was tall, even collapsed in his arms. I could tell he was well over 180 centimeters. Broad-shouldered in a black suit that probably cost more than 3 months of my salary. Tattoos peeked from his collar and cuffs, not the kind university students got. The kind that told stories of violence. Kaudulya enus, can you hear me? His hand moved to my face, fingers checking my pulse at my throat with unexpected gentleness. Professional, careful, I managed a weak nod. That's when his gaze dropped to my wrist. My sleeve had ridden up when he caught me, exposing the inside of my forearm, exposing the bruises. His entire body went rigid. Those dark eyes fixed on the marks, yellow and purple ovals, finger-shaped, unmistakable even under the train's harsh lights. I saw recognition flash across his face. Not confusion, not curiosity, recognition, like he'd seen this before, like he knew exactly what those bruises meant. Konukainus, koidesainus, who did this to you? His voice had changed, still quiet, but there was steel underneath now, something lethal lurking beneath the calm surface. I pulled weakly at my sleeve, trying to cover the evidence to hide the shame. Ko gwenchanayo enus, ko gunyang, enus clumsy hangul, ko hiut enus hangul, ko enus hangul, ko siat enus hangul, ko enus. I'm fine, I'm just clumsy. I fell at work. Fell, he repeated the word in a way that made it clear he knew I was lying. His jaw tightened. Ko unde enus, ko medimakuto enus, ko makasayo enus. When did you last eat? The question caught me off guard. Ko anu enus, ko uchime enus, today, this morning. Ko dusi enus, ko mehebwaya enus. Try again. He adjusted his hold on me, keeping me upright as the train continued its journey through Seoul's underground. And this time, don't lie. Tears prickled my eyes. I didn't cry anymore. I'd trained myself out of it months ago. Learned that tears only made Minyi angrier, made him call me weak and pathetic. But something about this stranger's directness, the complete lack of judgment in his tone, cracked something inside me that I'd been holding together with spit and prayers. Ka udeanos, maybe, yesterday, maybe. He muttered something under his breath. Then he spoke over my head to someone I couldn't see, switching to rapid Korean. Ka tsesungyung enus, bring the car to the next stop. We're getting off. Now. Wait, I tried to push away from him, to stand on my own. I can't, I don't even know you. My name is Choi Tseok. He said it like it should mean something, like I should recognize the name from news reports about organized crime and gang violence in Gangnam. When I just stared blankly, something that might have been approval flickered in his eyes. And right now what you need is food, medical attention, and somewhere safe. I can provide all three. I have to go home. Even saying it made my stomach clench with dread. Do you want to go home? The question hung between us in Korean. Ko chipe enus, ko ga ka enus, ko sipaya enus. Simple, direct. Impossible to answer without revealing everything I'd been hiding. The train slowed, pulling into Gangnam Station. Tseok stood smoothly, lifting me like I weighed nothing, one tattooed arm under my knees, the other supporting my back. I should have protested. Should have demanded he put me down. Instead, I let my head rest against his shoulder, too tired to fight anymore. This is kidnapping, I mumbled in broken English, the language feeling foreign on my tongue. This is helping, he replied, seamlessly switching languages. There's a difference. A man appeared beside us, tall, broad, with scars on his knuckles and an earpiece in his ear. He wore a dark suit and moved with the kind of alertness I associated with bodyguards in movies. Ka cha enus, ka chunbidwesayo enus, boss. The car's ready, boss. His voice was rough, Gyeongsang dialect. Ka cha enus, let's go. They moved through the station with purpose, Tseok carrying me while Yisung cleared a path ahead. Commuters stepped aside automatically. Whether from Tseok's commanding presence or Yisung's intimidating bulk or the visible tattoos that marked them as dangerous, I couldn't tell. Probably all three. Rain was coming down in sheets when we emerged onto the street. A black Mercedes with windows tinted illegally dark idled at the curb. Yi-sung opened the rear door and T-seok slid in, still holding me. Wait! I tried one more time to protest as the door closed, sealing us inside luxury I'd only seen in dramas. You can't just I don't. Breathe. T-seok settled me on the seat beside him, his hand steady on my shoulder. You're safe. That's what matters right now. Safe? When was the last time I'd felt safe? The car pulled into Gangnam traffic, weaving between taxis and delivery bikes. I watched Seoul's neon lights blur past through rain-streaked windows, my mind struggling to process what was happening. I should be terrified. This was every warning my mother had ever given me about dangerous men and trusting strangers. But as T-seok retrieved a bottle of water and pressed it into my trembling hands, as he draped his suit jacket over my shivering shoulders, as those dark eyes watched me with something closer to concern than threat, I couldn't find the fear I knew I should feel. Ka chun-chun-hi enus, ko mesyayo enus. Drink slowly. His instruction was gentle. Small sips. The water was cold and perfect. I hadn't realized how thirsty I was until the first swallow. I wanted to gulp it down, but his hand on the bottle kept me from drinking too fast. Ko adi enus, ko gayo enus. Where are we going? My home. I have a doctor who will examine you. I don't need a doctor. My voice sounded stronger now. The water was already helping. Everyone needs a doctor when they faint from starvation. There was almost warmth in his tone. You know that as well as I do. He wasn't wrong. The Mercedes turned onto a side street in Cheongdam-dong, pulling up to gates that screamed money and power. High walls, security cameras, guards in black suits who bowed deeply as we passed. The kind of compound you saw in crime dramas where men made decisions about life and death over expensive whiskey. I looked down at my wet convenience store uniform, my cheap sneakers, my bruised wrist still partially visible. Then at T-seok in his perfectly tailored suit, tattoos marking him as someone important in a world I didn't understand. Ko yucky enus, ko en enus, ko awulya enus. I don't belong here. You're here because I brought you here. His response was matter of fact. That means you belong. He opened the door and stepped out, extending his hand. Ko cha enus, let's get you warm and fed. I took his hand. The decision felt monumental and inevitable all at once, like stepping off a cliff into unknown water, like choosing to live instead of just surviving. As I stood on shaking legs, the world tilted again. Darkness crept in from the edges, my body finally surrendering the fight to stay conscious. The last thing I remembered was T-seok's arms catching me for the second time. His voice was low and certain as everything went black. Ko dwesa enus, ko ide enus, ko undanhan enus. It's okay, you're safe now. Consciousness returned slowly, like surfacing from deep water. My first awareness was softness, sheets beneath me that felt like clouds compared to the thin blanket I'd grown used to. Then warmth. Real warmth that didn't come from layering every piece of clothing I owned. Finally, light filtering through my eyelids, gentle and golden rather than the harsh fluorescent of my office doll's single bulb. I opened my eyes to unfamiliar surroundings. High ceilings, traditional asterisk Hanji paper screens diffusing morning light, a low platform bed with silk bedding in shades of cream and gray. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see a private garden with a koi pond and carefully pruned pine trees. The kind of space that existed in another world, one where people had money for beauty instead of just survival. Where was I? Memory crashed back. The subway, fainting, strong arms catching me. Dark eyes studying my bruises with recognition that made my heart hammer. Choi T-seok. I sat up too quickly and the room spun. My hand went to my head, finding my hair loose and clean. Someone had washed it, changed me into soft cotton pajamas. My heart raced, had he. A knock sounded before panic could fully take hold. The door opened to reveal T-seok carrying a wooden tray. He'd changed from the suit into a simple black sweater, sleeves pushed to his elbows, revealing more of the tattoos that marked his arms. In daylight streaming through the screens, I could see him more clearly. Mid-30s, maybe. Sharp cheekbones and a strong jaw that suggested mixed heritage, Korean father, perhaps something else in the bloodline. hair styled back with that particular soul precision. And those eyes, *Iasikaji, that dark brown that appeared black in certain light, currently watching me with careful attention. Kog hesaya enus, good. He set the tray on the nightstand. How do you feel? Confused, I answered in Korean, my voice hoarse. What time is it? Just past noon. You've been asleep for about 12 hours. He poured tea from a ceramic pot into a matching cup. Steam rose, carrying the scent of ujacha citron tea. Dr. Lim examined you last night after you lost consciousness. With your permission, of course. I don't remember giving permission. You were semi-conscious but responsive. I asked in Korean if you'd allow a doctor to check you over. You nodded. He handed me the cup. Drink, it'll help. I took it, the warmth seeping into my palms. Traditional medicine. The kind my grandmother used to make. What did he find? Tisiok pulled a chair closer to the bed, maintaining respectful distance, I noticed. Never sitting on the bed itself. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, your blood pressure was dangerously low. He paused, his gaze steady and unflinching. Multiple contusions in various stages of healing, evidence of prolonged physical trauma. My face burned with shame, that particularly Korean shame of having private pain exposed, of bringing dishonor through suffering. Having a stranger examine my body while I slept felt violating. But underneath the embarrassment was something else. Relief that someone finally saw, that the evidence existed beyond my own experience of it. I should go. I set the cup down, moving to stand. Ko udi enus, where? The question was gentle but firm. Back to, I couldn't finish. Couldn't say home because we both knew it wasn't. Back to whoever gave you those bruises. It wasn't a question. Tisiok leaned forward slightly, his expression unreadable. I'm not trying to trap you here, Hayun SSI, but I'm asking you to stay until you're strong enough to make decisions from a place of health rather than desperation. How do you know my name? Your ID was in your bag. Yoon Hayun, 27 years old, works at GS25 in Gangnam. He stood, moving to the window, giving me space. I took the liberty of calling your manager this morning. Told him you were ill and wouldn't be in for your next few shifts. He seemed worried but understanding. I should have been angry at the presumption. Instead, I felt grateful someone had handled the details I didn't have energy to consider. Hangul, ko we enus, ko ida seya enus. Why are you doing this? Tisiok turned back to me, and something in his expression shifted, became almost vulnerable in a way that seemed impossible for a man who radiated such controlled danger. When I was 15, my younger sister was killed by her husband. He beat her regularly for 2 years. She hid it from everyone, from me, from our parents, because she was ashamed, because she thought she could handle it alone, because Korean society told her to be a good wife. His jaw tightened, a muscle jumping. Ko neha enus, ko mat enus, ko chikyasa enus. I couldn't protect her. The raw honesty in his words, spoken in our shared language, carrying the weight of Korean concepts of family duty and failure, cracked something inside me that Minyi's fists never could. Ko hadiman enus, ko nunan enus, ko chiki enus, ko su enus, ko isa enus, but I can protect you. His use of the informal neo instead of the polite dangshan should have felt presumptuous. Instead, it felt like an offering of kinship, of understanding between wounded souls. Ko onaman enus, I whispered, tears finally falling, just for today. I'll stay just for today. Ko onaman enus, he agreed, his voice softening. That's all I'm asking. He gestured to the tray, ujacha, rice porridge with abalone small banchan dishes arranged with care. Eat, rest. We'll talk more later if you want. He left, closing the door with that particular Korean quietness, the kind that respects another person's space and dignity. I stared at the food. Simple juk, it smelled like my grandmother's kitchen. The kind of care that spoke of someone who understood hunger wasn't just about food. It was about safety, about being seen, about remembering you're human. I ate slowly, my shrunken stomach protesting even small amounts, but each spoonful felt like reclaiming something I'd lost. Like maybe, just maybe, I deserved to survive. If this story keeps you watching, like the video, subscribe for more dark Mafia tales, and comment below where you are watching from.